Great. Thank you. Thank you for letting me be here today. It's an honor for me to have a chance to address this crowd. I look out and I see friends that I've made over the past year. He mentioned I took this job in August of last year. We actually moved into our house in Louisville a year ago, my wife and I and our 2.5-year-old son, in which, let me tell you a little bit about my family situation. He mentioned that I'm an Auburn graduate, and I heard some War Eagles. My wife is a graduate of the University of Alabama. Right, I mean, you know, so that makes life very interesting around our house. She wasn't real happy last weekend. She's even less happy, you know, that Saturday in November a year ago. But yeah, the kick six, right? But so we have our 2.5-year-old son, and we agreed that we're not going to raise him Auburn or Alabama. We're not going to have him do that tug-of-war with our son. And so I apologize. There's probably Louisville fans in here, but my mother-in-law is a huge UK fan. She's originally from Kentucky, born and raised in Beaver Dam. So she swoops in and puts UK blue on him. So I've got 3 different people, in 3 different colleges we root for in my house, but he's 2.5. He doesn't know. But we have really enjoyed moving here. We were in Atlanta before we were here, where, as you heard, I was Deputy Regional Vice President. Big, long title. This said I sat in the desk and took phone calls all day. But we loved Atlanta. Great restaurants, great arts, great culture, just a super place to live. And when we got the opportunity to move here, it's a great opportunity, but my wife said to me, how long do we have to stay in Louisville before we can go back to Atlanta? We've been here a year now, and my wife says to me, they're not going to make us go back to Atlanta, are they? Right. I mean, what a great place to live. We have the restaurants that we had in Atlanta. We have the arts that we have in Atlanta. And we don't have the traffic, and we have a better quality of life and a lower cost of living. Louisville, I am convinced, is one of the best kept secrets in the country, and one of the things I want to try to do as I travel around and talk to others in my company and others around the country and other companies is we need to share the secret. If we get somebody here, Ted Smith said to me, if we get them here, they fly into the airport and they stay for a meeting for lunch and they fly back out, we probably don't get them. You get them here for 2 or 3 days, they get to experience the restaurants we have and the culture we have. They're going to be a believer, and they're going to love Louisville too. So it has been a great opportunity for us to be here, and we're loving living here. Now, I had a big, long slide presentation that my public affairs people put together for me. It was too long, and I didn't want to bore y'all with a bunch of slides. I would rather just come and have a conversation and maybe leave some time for Q&A afterwards. So I'm not going to go through the whole presentation. I'm just going to leave that slide up there. And that slide's a good one to start with, because taking this job, I think I had 2 big challenges. My first challenge is people see AT&T as a large multinational corporation. And we certainly are that. It's one of our strengths. We can provide services anywhere a business needs them. But we're really a Kentucky company too. We have over 3,000 employees all over the state of Kentucky, over 4,000 retirees in every one of the 120 counties in Kentucky. Over the past 3 years, we have invested $675 million in CapEx in Kentucky. I am pretty willing to say that's probably as much or close to what any other company has done. We buy $75 million worth of goods and services from Kentucky-based companies, contractors, and individuals. We have been involved in our communities. We give back in the places we live and work, and we've been doing business here since 1879. That's almost as long as the Kentucky Derby has been around, which is interesting to me because the Derby is a good illustration. This is my second challenge, is sharing with people how much the world has changed. And the Derby is a good illustration of that, because this past year at the Kentucky Derby, 2.3 terabytes of information went over our wireless network. Used to, people would go to an event and they watch it and they talk to the people next to them, but because we all have these, right? People are taking pictures, they're tweeting, they're making videos. In fact, we could watch the data, we can monitor this stuff. It went up, 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 up until the moment the bell rang and the horses are off and they're running. And then it went crash down, no data. California Chrome crosses the finish line, data spikes back up again as people are taking pictures and sending it out. Selfie, right? I'm at the Derby. and we laugh about it, but it's very illustrative of the challenges we face. Over the past 6 years, data on our wireless network has gone up 50,000%. Try to run your business like that, right? And we don't know what's going to happen over the next 5 or 6 years. I like to tell people, you know, when our current governor took office, there was no, you know, well, let me put it this way, the top 3 selling brands in our singular stores back then, but before the iPhone came out, the top 3 selling brands in our singular stores, Palm, BlackBerry, and Nokia. Where are they today? Right? When the governor took office, there was a web page that got more hits than Google. It's called MySpace. Anybody heard of MySpace lately? My point is, the industry is constantly changing. Consumers' needs and desires are constantly changing, and we're trying to keep up with it. And it's really, really a challenge. If you look at what kids are doing today, I got a 2.5-year-old son. He can work my iPad better than I can. You know, my parents, when I was little, they bought a set of Encyclopedia Britannicas because it was important for me to have that information, and they sacrificed to do it. It's important for me to have that information when I was going through grade school, middle school, and high school. Now a kid can get any information he wants anywhere in the world off of one of these. And what it's doing to business and industry, I don't know if there's any real estate agents in here, but when we're looking for a house, we pull Zillow up, and we'd be riding around with the agent, hey, let's look at this house. My wife, as we're walking through houses, she's going like this. How much signal do I have? But we laugh. But you know what happens when industrial consultants come in and look for sites for businesses? They do like my wife. They hold their phone. They go, how much signal do I have? Somebody in the governor's administration told me a story about, I think they're from South Korea. They're going down the Mountain Parkway heading towards somewhere in eastern Kentucky looking at a site. They got halfway there. One of them pulled out his phone, tried to check his email. He had no signal. They said, turn around. We're getting back on the plane. What we do has serious implications on the future of the state. And that brings me to what is one of my biggest challenges, is dealing with the General Assembly in Frankfort. You would think I've been in Washington, I should be able to handle anything, right? This is a different experience in Kentucky. I'm not lying, right, Senator? I've had a learning experience, but I've had a great time getting to meet a lot of great people there. And the reason I'm having to deal with the General Assembly is the laws in Kentucky currently require us to keep investing in maintaining and building out the old network that people are leaving on a daily basis. While at the same time, we're trying to build out this new network so that we can tell the South Koreans, you got a signal, put your factory here. Every dollar we invest in that old network is a dollar that's lost forever to go into the new network, and to things that consumers are demanding, that industries want, things like broadband, things like wireless coverage. And in fact, most of the people here probably have something besides that old-fashioned phone service. We look at statistics, a third of people have no home phone service at all. A third of people have home phone service that's provided by one of these new networks, and a third still have home phone service provided by the older networks. In that last category, nationwide, we see 450,000 of those people leaving the old network every single month. So we've got to be able to put the money into what consumers want, invest into the new networks that consumers and industry need and are demanding. And our current laws won't let us do that. So we're trying to work with the legislature to update those laws. Thank you, Senator Denton, who's been a leader in that effort. And I'm hopeful that we'll be able to get that done in this coming legislative session. The consequences of not getting it done are that we're going to have more people like those South Koreans in the car driving down the Mountain Parkway. See, I have a theory that in Kentucky we have great opportunity, but we're working with a very slim margin of error, right? We got to make sure that our laws are keeping up, that our climate for investment is right, and so that we can attract these businesses and industries so that we can compete with other states. States all around us have already passed these kind of laws. Nobody's been harmed. And let me just mention devil's advocate for a second. I got plenty of time. People say, oh, well, if you pass this law, people are going to lose their home phone service. Somebody's going to lose something that they value. And that's not the case at all. It's not about taking anything away. It's about giving people more of what they want. And in fact, in surrounding states that have passed these laws, not a single person has lost their home phone service. So we need to make sure we're keeping up. I finish where I started off with my son. My son's 2.5. We've chosen to live in Kentucky, and I'm very hopeful that we're going to be here for the rest of our career, and that he's going to grow up and graduate from high school, probably go to college. We'll have a discussion about which college he goes to, and I want him to have a job here. That means I want him to have the same opportunities as a child that grows up in Tennessee or in Indiana or in Alabama or Mississippi, all states that have passed this kind of legislation. Those states are getting ahead of us. We can't afford to fall behind. Last thing I'll mention, there's been a lot of talk about gigabit internet speeds. The mayor's office has been really talking to me about trying to get gigabit speeds in Louisville. And we've had some good discussions about that through the process. But part of what determines where we put gigabit speeds is a regulatory and legal environment. And it's just not there in Kentucky at this point. You can go to Nashville. We recently announced that we're putting in gigabit speeds in 100 communities in 21 metro areas around the country, the closest one being Nashville, Tennessee, and that service will get up to the state line. It will literally go to the state line of Tennessee and Kentucky and stop. Because Tennessee has passed these laws, they have the environment, and they have the other factors that lead into getting that gigabit speeds. I want to be able to compete for that here. I want to make sure we have the opportunities here, and I want to make sure that Kentucky is at the top of the list when people are looking for places to put businesses, and that means we need to change the regulatory environment. We got a lot of people that have helped us. Thank you, but we still got some work to do.